Here's what happened. I'm guessing you're feeling like a sloth, pinball machine, or somewhere in between. What I mean is you could be pinballing with a bunch of different thoughts. I call them tornado thoughts. Or everything feels like slow motion right now. I felt both of those before a lot as an entrepreneur since starting my first business over a decade ago as a DJ. I went by DJ Raz, by the way. So today I'll guide you through an experience to get you to feel grounded and connected to the answer I already know you have for what is the next move for you. There's going to be simple movements that you can use on your own and space here for you to figure out your plan for the rest of the day. Even if you're experiencing this before going to bed, it's to help you to get ready for tomorrow. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. If you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. Thank you for being here. Excited for this commitment that I've made with the help of this show to share with you what it really takes to make burnout extinct so you can unlock your limitless potential. So what that means is it's about eliminating chronic stress so you can feel more energized working on your business rather than being drained by it. It's being satisfied in the effort you put out in the day while recognizing you're capable of more. And it's about creating the space to focus on what and who you care about instead of letting this resentment build. And then it's remembering that your business is just one part of your epic life. Let's rock and roll. All right, for today, this might feel weird if you're doing this for the first time and haven't experienced some of these movements. It may not make sense at the beginning, but trust me, stick with me throughout this. And how I want to get started with this experience for you is to take 3 deep breaths together. So for whatever you're doing right now as you're listening to this, take a moment to take a deep inhale through the nose. Take that in and then release it on out through the mouth. There you go. 2 more. Another deep inhale through the nose. Feeling it. Filling up with that air and then release. Final one. Deep inhale. Even more if you can. You got this. And then exhale it out through the mouth. There you go. You may already notice a shift in how you're feeling just from those 3 breaths. But now let's bring our awareness down to our toes. So you can wiggle the toes. Start slow motion with this. Like you're playing the piano with your toes. Just trying to focus on each toe, letting it wiggle if you can. Actually, as I'm doing this, I cannot do that. I'm starting with my big toes and then wiggling all the rest of them. If you can, that's incredible. All right. Now slowly bring your awareness up your body. So if you're standing or sitting, laying down, doesn't matter here. Bring your awareness up to the calves, to the thighs. Bring it up to the stomach, chest. If you like, you can raise your arms up or out even. Bring up your awareness up to the head, then bring on back down to the arms, biceps, bring them to the wrist, and then now what you can do is wiggle your fingers slowly. So you can start with the thumb and just wiggle it down. This is like similar to playing, if you ever played the piano before, or you can imagine it. It's been a long time since I played the piano, but just wiggle them back and forth. I'm like, that's probably not the best example for me to use here for you, but you get the idea. It's making like a wave motion. There you go. You may notice some tension and may even get a little uncomfortable is the feeling. Okay. And then what you can do now is just swipe, bring your hands up, and then swipe them to the left like a day nap. Get that energy out. There you go. So what this is warming up and then you think about it for even getting ready for to go on the field for a game. What's that warm up like for you? I remember when I used to play soccer, I'd bounce a little bit at the beginning. And so we just did like this warm up of movement. And by moving, you're literally producing energy in the body, which is so cool. And now with this next level of movement, it's imagining that you are about to go on the field for a game, that warm up that I talked about. So, what does that look like for you? It could be bouncing up and down. If you're standing, shaking out the arms a little bit, or even tapping your feet if you're sitting down. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tap my feet on the ground, but what we're doing is bringing our awareness and movement at the bottom of the kinetic chain of the body. And then with the bounce, it's bringing that energy, that vibration on up to the body. And you're feeling it. A few more seconds here. Okay. And then again, with your hands, swipe left, get that energy out. And now I have a question for you. Give you that space. What is the next move you can work on in the business to build momentum today? What comes up in the space? So you either got it, and that's your answer. You don't have to keep going. Put your focus towards that for the next move that you can work on in the business. Make it happen. If it hasn't come through yet, let's keep going. Got a few more questions. So bring your awareness back down to your toes. Gonna wiggle the toes again. Just how many times in your day have you thought about wiggling your toes? So already it's interrupting the pattern. There are patterns in this world where you have the sunrise, sunset. Your body's no different with these patterns that can come up. And so it's really important to interrupt what you're going through in your day to day, because you're right now feeling stuck, and it's a pattern that perhaps has been happening over many days, or you may have something that causes a thought or an experience that makes you feel like you're in stuck mode. And so it's what we're doing right now is interrupting those patterns to help you get out of that so you can have a new perspective on what you're dealing with in the day. And with movement, when you can feel more energized, then you can make better decisions. You can create better strategies for yourself. And it's you who knows best for your business. And it's important to remember that for yourself. All right, if you've been keeping on going with the wiggle of the toes, you can stop wiggling your toes. Next one for the question to reflect on. Where in your body do you feel pressure? So again, you can start from the toes and bring your awareness on up the body to the calves, thighs, stomach, chest, shoulders, head. You may already know right away, and you're like, yep, I got it out here on my left side. That's usually where I feel pressure, is on my left side. And with this signal, it's a signal from the body. Your body's constantly communicating with you. And one of the most important skills that you can master as an entrepreneur is communication with your body. These signals have messages within them. And that can be, you think about that for if you're thinking about it, or more importantly, feeling the emotions. The emotions are giving you a message. And it's for you to get that message and then adapt. What has to change for either the habits that are happening in the day or the belief system that you have about what's going on. And I'll share examples a little bit later on. But with pressure, that signal usually relates to feeling stressed. And so that could be coming up right now for you feeling stuck as you are stressed. You're like, shit, I'm stuck right now. This is not helpful. I really want to build that momentum. And so first, it's connecting to where that signal comes up, because it can be easy to ignore it, to avoid it. But the issue that happens is it can build. You can imagine it like this pressure balloon where it can fill up more and more and more with stress. And your body has a certain amount of capacity to handle these pressure balloons until it's going to be forced to have to release that stress out. And one of those ways that the body can release that stress out is by hitting burnout. And how I define that as a major life transition that is forced on you by your body. And so that could be, in the context of business, having to close down the business or let go of the business because you don't have that capacity within your body to either handle the growth that is happening or the challenges. Both of those could be making you feel stressed. And that could be something right now that you're experiencing. It's based off the challenges that you're dealing with or the growth opportunities. And so if you have that now for the awareness, it may take a little while. You can pause here and continue to connect back to the body and just notice where is a pressure. And it could be slightly different from the rest of the body. Or you may have a few different spots. But then focus on that area. And as you're focusing, I have another question for you. What is making you feel stressed? Is it an email they have to reply to? Is it a hard conversation that you know you have to have coming up? Is it something didn't work out well with a client and you got to address it? Was there a mistake that was made by the contractors that you've been working with? You're going to have that hard conversation. Or was it something that you forgot about and you realized, oh shit, I gotta get this done, but now I want to push it off because I don't want to accept that I just made a mistake. Or that feels very uncomfortable to have to face that right now. So I want to try to avoid it, distract myself, procrastinate. And I understand. I have felt that. But what is it for you? And if you like, you can write this down, be able to just get it out. And then now bring your awareness on back to your toes. We're going to wiggle them one more time. Bring the awareness on up fast here to the calves, thighs, stomach, chest, shoulders, head. Bring it on up. And now relating to that experience, what is the belief that is in the driver's seat right now relating to that experience? Is it the belief that you have to be perfect? And so making that mistake is making you feel stressed? Is it the belief that you don't want to have a hard conversation? That's going to be exhausting to have the hard conversation. And it's going to take you out for the next rest of the day or the week. But what is it for you? Or the belief that you're not good enough to reach out for that new opportunity or respond back to the opportunity. To give you an example for me, earlier this year, I applied for a speaking opportunity at the biggest event that I would, if I had gotten it, that I would ever have spoken at. And I just did it. I was like, all right, whatever, I did it. And then a few months went by, didn't hear anything back or didn't get anything back about it. But then I got an email back. And they said, hey, the team member was like, it'd be great to have you come and speak. Was like the message I got. I don't know the exact wording of it, but that was the vibe. And then I didn't respond back right away. It became overwhelming. And that was a moment for me to get stuck. And in the past, that could have lasted a lot longer than it actually did because I had learned that overwhelm, this pressure that I'm feeling, I went through this process of knowing that my belief is I applied for this. So there's an expectation I was going to get asked to come and speak. And so this is what I wanted. And then it didn't become so overwhelming and so stressful. And I was able to reply back way faster than I would have in the past. And that allowed me to continue that momentum, to get even more excited and move forward. But it's first connecting to what is the belief in the driver's seat right now. And then it's asking yourself, does this support you in your life? Is this helpful right now? It's served a purpose at some point for protecting you as with this belief, but is it supportive now? And the epic news is that you can put a new belief in there in the driver's seat. And that's this question I have for you. What is a new belief that you could create to kick out the other outdated belief? Because my guess is the current belief is not so helpful, not so supportive. So what could be that new one? And simple example at the base level would be like, I'm not good enough is the current belief. Okay, well, how about it's possible for me to be good enough? And I know you could be like, that is stupidly simple. And it's weird to think of how simple that could be. But the truth is, it is simple for a belief, but where that hard part can come in is then the faith that this belief can be put in the driver's seat. That's really where it comes back to the hard effort of showing up and having faith and putting the reps in. And so that leads then to the next question, which is, what are the one or two habits that if you were to do them and put the rep in today, it would give you the evidence that the empowering belief is true for you? Another example, bringing it into communication, is that you may have a belief of, I'm terrible at communication, of getting my point across, of being clear, concise. So then the new empowering belief could be like, it is possible for me to improve my communication by being more precise, more clear, more concise. You get the idea. Now, the habit could be, I'm going to take 10 minutes each day to focus on reviewing the recent messages I sent out and then figuring out where I can improve for how to make it more concise. And you could even put that into ChatGPT or any other platforms, AI platforms, to be able to get help with that. But that could be one habit. Another one could be, I'm not someone that puts myself out there for new opportunities or new events. If that's for connection with networking for business, for the specific business industry that you're in, or if it is something where you want to get your message out there more, you can go and apply to speak. But then the new empowering belief is, it is possible for me to put myself out there. And then the habit could be, I'm going to send a message to one event a day. Or it could be, I'm going to go and apply for a speaking opportunity once a day or once a week. Whatever, I go back to this of starting small is really helpful for the consistency with the habits. And so maybe once a week, but then you can remember that where you start isn't going to be where you end up if you continue to move forward. And so maybe from once a week, you can move it to twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, and then it gets to a point where it's like twice a day. But what are those 1 or 2 for you? And you can take a moment to write that down. And take another deep inhale through the nose. And then release it on out. Bring your awareness on down to the toes. Wiggle the toes one more time. All right, real fast. Let's bring up the awareness to the calves, thighs, stomach, chest, to the shoulders, head, and up. And what you just went through is what I call the broken swing model. To understand the context here. So you can imagine a swing at the playground and it just has one chain. And so it's awkward to swing on that, where what can happen is when you swing forward with that momentum, you'll swing backwards naturally And that's what's happening for your nervous system. Your nervous system wants to bring you back into balance. And so there are these beliefs that are those anchor points in the chain where you can go so further, so much, or so far forward where you're going to then have to swing backwards. And it's dependent on the belief. And then more importantly, are you feeling stable in this swing? And so if it's just one belief, which is the one that is outdated, it's going to be really chaotic. You're going to feel all over the place. And that's where you can get stuck. And so by bringing in a new empowering belief, it's adding that other chain to the swing where you're sitting in the swing, feeling way more stable. And you can remind yourself that it's natural for you to move forward with momentum. And then you're going to have those moments where it feels like you're moving backwards. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It's just reminding yourself you're going to have those off days with how the nervous system is currently trying to bring you back into balance. And so with these two beliefs, you want to put in more repetitions for the habits that are going to support the empowering belief. And what will happen is then you can swing further forward and then move backwards, recognize that this is a pattern. And so you don't take it so personally as something's wrong with you. And then you don't use the off days as an excuse to not get back on track. And it could last, you could have just one off day. It could be one off hour, or a few hours before you get back on track. And that's what's so cool about this process of understanding really what it takes to change the belief side in the driver's seat. And it's putting in the repetitions for the habits to provide that evidence that this new empowering belief is true until it becomes how you can imagine it becomes familiar for the nervous system. Because if something is familiar, you think about that with driving. First time I remember driving on the highway, I was like, my hands were like on that steering wheel, gripping it hard. And I remember my instructor, Mr. Green, on the other side, next to me. And I had my high school friends that were definitely talking shit behind me. But I'm like focused, locked in. Well, now, totally different get on the highway because I'm familiar with it. It doesn't feel so overwhelming, so stressful. Similar with a friend. Someone that you become familiar with that becomes a friend, you don't feel as nervous around them. And that's similar with this new empowering belief. The more familiar, then for the nervous system, it doesn't take it as a perceived threat. And so it gets to the point where it then becomes the driver, or gets put into the driver's seat for your life and drives your life. And then with enough repetition where you feel comfortable or familiar with this new empowering belief, then how you can imagine it for the swing is you jump off the swing. And what happens is then you continue this process for moving towards the next broken swing. And that could be upgrading the current belief you have that you just created, or focusing on a whole different area as you're working on the business. But then this becomes a process that you can use moving forward for yourself. But some of the signals that can come up is as you're going through this process is you can feel constricted. You can feel like a tightening. And there can be natural resistance that can come up from the body. Because with anything new, including this new empowering belief, at first, it can be taken as a potential perceived threat, even if it's something you want. And so it's recognizing that resistance and being able to connect back to you can move through that resistance. That's what you could be feeling right now is this resistance, this discomfort. So you want to avoid it, distract from it. But you can face this. You have the capabilities within you to make that happen. So now let's bring our awareness on back. You can bring your awareness to the toes. Wiggle the toes one more time. Bring it on up the calves, thighs, stomach, chest, shoulders, and the neck and the head. Neck was the first time I did that. Neck and then head. There you go. I want to share with you this principle to hold on to for yourself, especially on these moments where you do feel stuck. And you always can come back to this to help you to figure out what to focus on for the day. But it's the principle of immense potential, which states you have more potential within you than you can ever develop in your lifetime. And so where true fulfillment comes in is being on the path of developing that potential. How I interpret that is to be on the path of progress and to grow. That is where I get more fulfillment. And so it's a reminder for you that it won't be perfect. You're going to make these mistakes. It's getting the messages that are coming through and the lessons, the mistake, and letting go of them. You're going to get off track. It's reminding yourself you can get back on track. So don't think of this plan that you're creating right now for the day, for your next move. Don't think of it as a final draft of how the day is supposed to turn out, because that will most likely leave you disappointed, frustrated, or annoyed, even if it turned out better than you expected. Remember that. And now let's take another deep inhale together through the nose. Release out through the mouth. 2 more times. Deep inhale. And then release. Final one. And release. You got this.